The video games industry is one of the most expanding industries within the entertainment market. Since breaking into the mainstream, gaming has become more than just sitting in front of a screen playing video games. Now it has the potential to become one of the top 5 sports in the world, known as eSports. This documentary will explore what it's like being part of the eSports industry and look into how successful it can really get. We'll be visiting the UK's only dedicated eSports arena to see an eSports event firsthand. We'll be speaking to some professional players who talk about how playing video games has changed their lives. And we'll also be talking to Harry Channon, an eSports commentator who gives us an insight into the production side of competitive gaming. But first, I've travelled to the Gfinity Arena in London to see what it's really like at an eSports event. So just behind these doors here is the entrance to the arena, where we've been given behind the scenes access to look around the studio, and we're also going to be speaking to some players as well. Gfinity is the UK's only dedicated eSports arena, hosting online tournaments as well as regular events like this one, which are broadcast online. Rocket League, or put simply car football, is a game where 2 teams of 3 go head-to-head in remote control cars to score goals against one another. It's a popular title that attracts players from around the world, and we had the chance to talk to some of the competitors from today's matches.
My name's Pugsy, or Tom, and I represent Epsilon Esports.
My name is John Stellon, my in-game name is Ignite, and I play for Team MGS.
My name is Sandro Freaky Holzwart, and I'm representing Team Vitality, or Renault Vitality, in Rocket League.
So what's a typical day like in the life of an eSports player?
I go to college, so usually I go to college till about 4 o'clock and then just game all evening pretty much.
Well, I'm not sure about other people, but I just pretty much, I wake up, I brush my teeth, I eat breakfast, and I go on my PC and start playing Rocket League.
Is it all day?
All day. I'll take breaks in between, I'll watch some Rocket League streams, whatever. I might play a different game every now and then, but mostly just play Rocket League all day.
I try to get my 2 to 3 hours every day, but I don't feel like I have to play every day to stay on my level of play.
But how does someone go from just being a gamer to being a professional eSports player?
You just start playing, keep improving, and at some point you find yourself playing against the best teams in the world. And if you're able to beat them or like play at their level for a consistent time, you just keep on like at the pro level.
Rocket League's a really, really high skill cap game. It's got a lot to it, like at the top level. And I don't know, competing in Rocket League specifically is just amazing. It's like high level play against the best people in the world. It's just great.
At first I started to play Rocket League just casually, and I started having a lot of fun and getting a lot better. And once I realised I was good enough to do that, I just thought, why not, I guess.
So why is it important for events like this to be here? Why can't everyone just play online?
If you play next to each other, you actually feel like the emotions are way more in the game as if you just play online. It also helps like improving as team synergy, because you get to know each other, you live together, so playing on a LAN actually makes you a better team.
Events like this are really good to just build LAN experience for the bigger tournaments in the game. Once you get to that level and once you get invitations to those things, just meeting people is good. The social aspect of competing is really important as well. Meeting casters, LANs are probably the best place to practice.
But can playing video games really last as a reliable career choice for these players?
Well, at the moment, like we got contracts, so these contracts actually make you be able to make a living of it, but I don't feel like I can do this until I'm like 60 years old or something, so it's just for the moment. I try to play as long as I can, to win as much as I can, and then just get into a normal job.
I'm definitely hoping that I can make it into a career. There's definitely opportunity to, especially for a growing game like Rocket League.
I'm not sure either way, but I'm just going to keep playing, and if it ends, it ends. If it keeps going, whichever.
So perhaps not the most viable career choice for life at this time, but still a source of income for people who dedicate the time to competing. But eSports isn't all about the players. There is also a large focus on the production side of eSports events. Similar to mainstream sports, there are presenters and analysts that help give the games context, making eSports very much a spectator sport. Harry Channon is an eSports commentator. It's his job to describe to the viewers what is happening on screen. I sat down to speak with him about the importance of production within eSports and to get his views on the growth of competitive gaming. So first of all, can you just tell me a bit about your role within eSports? What exactly do you do?
So my role within eSports is I'm an eSports commentator. So people play video games competitively, and I will travel to studio locations and sometimes online and commentate over the games similar to traditional sports broadcasts.
So why is it important to have that within eSports then?
So it's very important to have that within eSports because a large portion of eSports is based around the broadcast, right? I mean, a lot of people want to see high-level competition, and with that comes high-level broadcasts. With high-level broadcasts comes high-level commentators. I'm not going to call myself a high-level commentator, but people pay for professional commentators to come in and commentate the best gameplay to give the best production possible, similar, again, to traditional sports.
Is it important as a caster to kind of know the games you're working on? I imagine it is, as you're kind of explaining the game to people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think particularly my commentary role, I'm actually an analyst. There are two kind of roles within commentary: play-by-play, which is what is happening, and then analyst or color commentator, which is why is happening and what is happening. Why is whatever is happening on screen affecting the overall kind of momentum of the game? So yeah, I think it's absolutely vital for commentators to know the game at a high level, and it's pretty paramount in my opinion.
One of Harry's recent events was in London, commentating at the Halo World Championships. Players competed at the Gfinity Arena to fight for a place at the finals in Seattle to gain their share of $1 million. I wanted to find out more about events like this and what role they play within eSports. So what makes LAN events like that specifically so special compared to just players playing online, for example?
It's the environment, man. I mean, you saw it yourself when you were there. The amount of viewers who come and understand the game and understand the high-level gameplay and appreciate high-level Halo gameplay is incredible. And when they get into the game, when the crowd starts, egging you on, and you start to feel the adrenaline pumping on the stage, there is nothing that compares to that. You can be sat at home in your pajamas and be like, yeah, this is a doddle. But when you come to an event and you hear the crowd and you hear your teammates, you hear the adrenaline and the urgency in their voice, there is nothing that compares to that.
You talk about the adrenaline, you talk about the players, and you talk about the environment that it is going on there. You said nothing compares to that. What about mainstream sports? Is there cross comparisons there between gaming and that?
It's a good comparison, I would say. I mean, a lot of the times when, for a direct example, let's talk about football, right? A lot of athletes say they try and zone out the crowd, right? It's kind of the opposite in esports, I feel like. Every esports star I've spoken to has said, we feed off the crowd. When someone makes a great play, when someone hits like an amazing shot or something like that, and they hear the crowd, react to that, they feed off of that, and momentum starts to swing in their favor. Whereas in comparison to mainstream sports like football, most athletes, they try and zone that out. They try and focus on their own performance.
So maybe a controversial question within the industry at the moment is whether esports should actually be considered as a sport, as it's in the name. So by definition, do you believe it could and maybe should be treated as a sport?
I think esports doesn't need to be classified as a sport, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it is people sitting down and playing video games. That doesn't mean it's not competitive, but I feel like there are parallels that could be drawn from sports that could be used in esports, such as the structure of national governing bodies and like international bodies and stuff for individual games. I think that would be kind of cool, but honestly, it doesn't matter whether or not esports is considered a sport or not. I mean, it's doing pretty well as an industry, whether or not it's considered this or that.
And how serious do you feel esports is seen by people in comparison to more traditional sports at the moment?
At the moment, it's way more common than it used to be. Like when I was growing up, when I was going through college, esports was still way in its infancy, and like I would have like maybe one or two friends that I could talk to in the mainstream, like at college or at school, who would have known about esports. Nowadays, it seems like almost every young person I talk to watches Twitch in some way, or they're watching esports tournaments, whether it be PC games, console games, whatever it is. I feel like it's way more widely accepted nowadays within young people, but I think old people is still going to take them a little while until they start to experience esports themselves in the mainstream for them to accept it.
It's still very much unknown whether esports will eventually be fully accepted in society. Right now, it's still very much a niche activity, and the UK are only just beginning to get involved. However, as investments into competitive gaming increases and online viewership grows, there's no doubt that esports is only at the start of its expanding potential.